Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Pause the video right now to check out my social media, my radio show, and thatdrummerguy.com. And most of all, enjoy the following presentation.
Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much for taking time to be able to do this interview.
Not a problem at all.
Oh, well, awesome. Well, of course, we are here to talk about the brand new album from Morbid Angel, Kingdoms Disdained, which is available today. I've gotten the chance to be able to check out the album over the last week.
Thank you, man. I mean, we put everything we had absolutely into the album, and it's just like every album, it's a process, but man, I really enjoy this album. I felt for the first time, man, we've sort of pulled it all together. We kind of got, we got it all. I mean, there's always, for me, every album, there's something I wish we had done or hadn't done or something. And then this one, I was just very happy with the results. So I'm glad you feel that way.
Oh, absolutely. So for a little backstory for people that are not familiar, how did you rejoin Morbid Angel?
Man, simply Trey and I mean, we're friends. We've been friends for, a long time. And I mean, there was never really bad blood between us or anything. I mean, just like anybody that's worked together, we've had our, arguments and, conflicts from here or there, but never any deep issue, man. So, essentially, we started communicating at first through emails, and then we started talking on the phone. And, it'd been a while since we talked, but, Trey and I were always very good friends. So, I mean, it was immediately, that familiarity that you just have with good friends, man. It instantly, once again, felt like, hey, man, I'm along with somebody that I know and like. And, I mean, that good feeling of being around someone you're familiar with, man. And, then when he approached me about possibly doing if I wanted to rejoin and start writing music together, I mean, I'm an adult, so I have to think about it, and I thought about it, man. But what it really came down to was I've spent my whole life, wanting to play music and playing music, and one of the best things I ever did in my life was get to work with Trey, man. He's one of the most creative, amazing people I've ever been around in my life, man. For me, he's pretty much a genius, man. And I mean, the ideas that he comes up with to me are a challenge, man. It's turning these crazy ideas, finishing them off, putting the icing on the cake, if you will. Writing lyrics and singing to them. It's always it's a big ass adventure, man, and it's something I enjoy doing.
Oh, that makes me so glad to hear that, too. And I'm glad you came back for all the right reasons, too. And I can definitely hear that throughout the album. I mean, it doesn't feel like it was just put together to make a new Morbid Angel album. I mean, it feels like everyone involved wanted to make the best possible album that they could possibly make. And that's definitely what the end result came out to be.
No, that's absolutely the case. I mean, everyone involved. I mean, even Eric Rutan, the co-producer of the album and the engineer on the album. I mean, working with Eric, it was just as important to him as it was to me. I could tell. I mean, he was 100% committed to it, and I mean, of course, Eric works with every band, and I think every band that he works with, he's 100% committed, but man, with Morbid, he's always been a part of the legacy of Morbid Angel anyway, so it's even that much more important, man, and everyone involved is good friends, and, of course, with Trey, every album, it's important to him, and, Scotty, man, it's his first album that he's been on, so, with Morbid Angel, so, of course, he wants to do the most amazing job he can. So I believe that you're right. For everybody, they wanted it to be the greatest thing that they can possibly make it.
So with that in mind, how did you approach everything when it came to the new album?
And, I really honestly one thing that I always have to do is I always have to let the songs sink in. And I have to listen to the songs literally hundreds of times, maybe thousands, I don't know how many, hundreds of times I'm guessing. And I mean, really honestly, it starts to become something. I mean, for me, I've always said that music, it sort of paints pictures. It sort of gives me something visual inside of my head that brings forth words. And I don't know, when I'm creating music, I think I allow something sort of outside of me, man, to just sort of happen, man, and just let the pen and the paper come in contact and do their thing, man. And really, honestly, that happens a lot in Morbid Angel for me, man. There's always some other pushing force that's hard to explain, you know?
Yeah, and that totally makes sense. And, you know, again, it's just, it's so great to see that you were so enthusiastic to be able to be a part of the band again. And, you know, just adding your spin into what Morbid Angel could be with you back into the band. And, you know, it's just like everything from the production, like that Eric was a part of, and everything that you guys did in the studio, whether you've been in the band for X amount of years or the first time, just like with other members of the band, you know, it's just like everyone firing on all the right cylinders. And, you know, just like with everything that has been happening over the last few years with the band and everything, I'm just glad to see that this album just focuses on writing the best music possible.
Man, you know, the thing about it is the world at the time when we're doing this record seems to just be becoming this big chaotic mess. You know what I mean? And all the vibes around that, man, you know, they affected us, man. They affected everything about, you know, this album. And I really think, man, you know, there's times when there's just these outside forces that sort of push you along in a direction, man. That happened more than not with this album, man. There was some pretty cool shit going on, you know?
Oh, very much so. And, you know, along with that, I mean, with of course, writing the new album, I mean, you guys have gotten to be able to play some shows to go along before the album process. I mean, what was it like to be able to get back on stage with Morbid Angel for the first time again?
Actually, it was great. I mean, I played songs that I hadn't played in 15 years, you know what I mean, or 12 years or something like that. So, I mean, it was phenomenal, man. And again, with Trey, you know, there's this familiarity, dude, and you know, we have a new drummer. And I mean, but to be honest, man, he's one of the reasons we picked Scotty was because he actually kind of feels so much like Pete when he's behind there playing. You know what I mean? The same sort of groove, the same sort of feeling, and I mean, so dude, going out and doing the shows, it was amazing. And as well, man, you know, on this tour, we go all the way across America, and I've just seen so many old friends, man, so many people that I hadn't seen in quite a few years. And so, I mean, it was really just a reunion of sorts everywhere I went. You know, it was fucking awesome. It was great.
So, also with that in mind, did you change your bass setup at all when you rejoined the band, or did you try to capture the original sound?
Could you repeat the question, man?
Oh, well, I mean, as far as like your bass setup, I mean, did you change anything at all since rejoining Morbid Angel? Or are you trying to recapture the sound that you had in the past?
Man, I have changed the bass tone just a small bit, man. You know, I started using a different pedal, man, and I kind of don't want to tell everybody what the pedal is, but like, because it's something I would have never expected. But I started using a different pedal, something Eric Rutan suggested in the studio, man, and now I'm using pretty much the same exact bass rig that I always used, of course, different basses, but now I have a pedal that I'm using that, man, what I like about it, it's a pedal that is sort of a tube distortion, but what I really like about it is you can control where the distortion is in the parameter of, meaning you can change what range it's in. You can make it be a low range distortion, a mid range, or a high range distortion. And by being able to move it around, man, I'm really able to tweak in the growl being exactly where I want it to be in the tone. And honestly, I think my bass tone is the best it's ever been. It only took, it only took till I'm in my 40s to get it, you know?
Yeah, you know, it's just, I was so curious about that when it came to the production and the tone of the album, because it's just, I absolutely love the tone that you're getting out of the bass, and I was just curious how that all came to be. And, you know, it's just, it's awesome to see that it can just be a suggestion of a new pedal that can, like, bring so much life into the bass tone.
Man, it was so, you know, we talked about it, we talked about it a lot, myself and Rutan, about the bass tone. And, you know, for me, man, what's really important with the album is the bass being there and being audible, but the bass not distorting the guitar in any way. You know, I mean, I don't want it to take away from the guitars at all. I just want it to have its own thing, you know. And honestly, we tried a lot of different things. For years, I had used a rat pedal, which is the same as what Trey uses, you know, and what the other guitar uses. So, for, you know, I kind of always felt that's where the blend was the best, man. But I was never 100% happy, dude. I was always at about 75% on it. And then as soon as we plugged in this pedal and played with it for 3 or 4 minutes, man, I'm happier than I've ever been with my bass tone. And everybody seemed to like it, you know, live and in the rehearsals as well. So, I mean, I think it's going to be something I'm going to stick with, you know.
Oh, and that's great to hear that too. I mean, especially when it comes into the live setting and, you know, playing those classic Morbid songs, but giving it new life as well. I mean, even if it's just from a pedal, just being able to give those songs a new life and a new tone.
Right. I mean, and for me, that's always been something that when you're playing, that can spark a song. Even, you plug in a flange pedal or something, and next thing you know, you're just jamming around. You come up with new riff. It's so I mean, sounds like that have always kind of influenced me and inspired me. And with this bass tone, man. Like there's a song on the album Paradigms Warped, man. It actually kind of has almost like a walking bass thing going on it. That's something I would have never really done in the past with a different tone. It really would have not sat the same way, man. It wouldn't have been the same, I mean, so, it did actually inspire, some of the things on the album. I mean, how the bass lines sit with the guitars and some of the movements and such. The growl of the bass really changes it, man. It's something that, we worked with and tried. I tried multiple different bass lines on songs to get things to where it really honestly felt it worked the best, So, I mean, this tone for me, man, it sort of opened up the bass for a bit more in the band, It sort of made the bass more present than it's actually ever been for me personally in Morbid Angel. And, it's cool because everybody on stage is digging it,
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more from the fan perspective when it comes to that too. I mean, all of you guys just shine so much throughout the album, and it's great to be able to hear that, even if it's just from the production standpoint. I mean, everything have its own distinct sound and working so well together, and especially when it comes to the bass sound. I mean, it's so great to see everything that you're doing on this new album really shine through.
Right on. Thank you very much, man. I mean, like I said, Rutan and I talked a lot before the album. Trey and Rutan were talking a lot before the album. And I'm talking about tones, about, really trying to capture it and make it be, like what it would sound like if you came and listened to Morbid Angel rehearse, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's definitely a really cool approach to that. And although I haven't had the chance to be able to see you guys yet with the promotion of the album and all the touring that's coming this year, I mean, with everything that's going to be happening in the future, I cannot wait to hear how that sounds in a live setting.
Yeah, man, these songs in the room at rehearsal sound awesome, and I really honestly can't wait to get them in big venues, because I mean that changes things, You get out there and you're in a big room with a lot of people in it, man, and suddenly the big moments become bigger. When you hit these big open moments, they become much, much bigger, and we're going to bring a pretty good variety of songs from the album to the live set. We're going to, we didn't just do an album just to do an album to not play the songs. We're going to play these songs as well, Not every single one. I mean, there's 11 songs on the album, but, we're going to play some on the first couple tours and then some more on the next tours, as well as, all the old Morbid Angel songs as well from all the genres,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, all the time frames of Morbid,
Oh, yeah, totally. And that's such the great thing about the new album is just that it does feel like that you can put it up with any other songs that have been banned when you listen to the album. I mean, it just feels like such a great continuation.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I think that, I liken it to chemistry, myself to alchemy, man. You put Trey and I and mix us together, man, and I think the outcome, is often along the same, time. I mean, we're all along the same type of what we've got. I mean, I really feel this album is a mix of everything Trey and I have always kind of done together, man. There's moments that'll definitely remind you of Gateways for just a moment. Not that we did anything to repeat ourselves at all. It's just that, Gateways had some really big moments on it. And, Formulas, man, it had some just really dark, menacing, violent moments on it, and so does this album. There's similarities, man, of things that we've done in the past. And I just think that when we get together, man, we just end up creating something pretty dark and menacing, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the more that I do listen to the album, it does kind of feel like the album continues on throughout, and it feels like it just gets more pummeling and crushing as the album goes on to the end. Was that something that was like a conscious effort, or did it just feel right to have the songs in that order?
Man, actually, everything was planned, man. We must have spent more than a month deciding what the actual run order was. It started off with Trey knowing there was 3 songs that he thought, man, these songs need to be one right after the other. And it went from there. So it sort of set a tone for the entire album. And I mean, we tried combination after combination then until finally it just felt like this is right, and then after that, when we tried other things, it just didn't seem as good as that. So this was the run order we went with, man. And to be honest, man, the way it flows it really, honestly, it just keeps sort of beating you up in different ways, man. I mean, there's just there's a lot of different sort of things going on in this album. Like I said, we put 11 actual songs on the album. No instrumentals, no intros, no orchestrated things. Just 11 songs, man, and with that, man, we made sure that everyone would stand alone on its own. You know what I mean? Because so often, people only get to hear one song, so you don't want to put more effort into any individual. I mean, we just made each song what we thought the best it absolutely could be, And there's some interesting shit on this album for sure, man.
Yeah, and that's also the other thing that I appreciate so much about the album is that there's absolutely zero filler. Every song, every moment, every riff has its distinct purpose and is needed for this collection. And it feels so perfect from start to finish. I mean, just even though with it being 11 songs, it's 11 songs that fit so perfectly well together and, like you said, really do stand out on their own as well.
I mean, that's, the thing is you write them one at a time, you know what I mean? And, when you're writing them, it really, in the end, I can remember being in the studio, man, and at the end of it, we had finished everything, and I was getting ready to fly home, and before I went, we needed to listen and make sure everything was cool, you know what I mean? And I remember that was the first time I actually heard all of the songs together at one time, and man, it beat me up. I mean, I was just like, wow, that was a pummeling. You know what I mean? That was just wow. It's like you think, okay, well, it's not going to get any more intense than this, and then it actually does, man. And it's just, it's an interesting album, man. And we put a lot of thought into everything, man. Everything from the artwork to the run order to everything about it, man. And with it, man, I think that it kind of takes you down a path, man, and it all ties in. The artwork, the lyrics, man, the music, it all comes together to sort of take you to some slightly different place,
Yeah, and it's definitely a place that's definitely needed in 2017. I mean, with everything that you guys have done with the songwriting to the production to the lyrical content to the artwork, and I know the upcoming live shows that are just going to be absolutely brutal. I mean, just like everything feels like it's so natural in the way that it should be with Morbid right now, and it's just so great to see that.
Man, I've always, jamming with Trey always seemed to be like a second nature thing, man, and honestly, it's something I'm glad that I get the opportunity to do again. And honestly, Morbid Angel has fans unlike any other band in music, man. Literally, this is the Morbid Angel fans, man. Are all so loyal for their own individual reasons that it's amazing, man. And I am now, and I always was, man. I was just really proud to be a part of it, man.
So, of course, and with that said, is there any plans so far when it comes into 2018?
Yeah, man, we're already talking about getting out and starting doing shows sometime in spring, late spring, something like that. And once we get going, it's not going to stop, man. We're going to go everywhere.
Oh, that's so great to hear. I mean, with how amazing this album is, I'm glad to see that you guys are going to be able to get that full live promotion that the album absolutely deserves. And I can't wait to see what the songs are going to sound like live. I mean, I know that you guys have done some to be able to promote the album before it came out, but now with it being out and people being able to get more familiar with the songs, it's just going to be that much more exciting to be able to hear those songs live.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, it was difficult going out on tour and playing, like we played Paradigm's Warp live. It was difficult to choose just to play this one song. You know what I mean? And and because somehow, it's going to represent the whole album. And the thing about it is we chose that one to pick from the get-go because it's the one element that song has that the whole album has. It's just this underlying, crawling, menacing sort of monster feeling about it, dude. And that's why we chose to do it live. And I think it really set up the entire album, man, because I don't think that element is very far from the surface on the album. I think it's always there, man.
Yeah, very much so. And I remember seeing the live footage from when you guys were playing that live, and it's just it just sounded so awesome live. And now being able to hear it in album context with everything that's gone into it, but the rest of the album, I mean, it was a great representation to be able to promote that album, and now being able to promote it now with the album being out today worldwide. I mean, it's so awesome to see everything that's been going on.
Yeah, man. it is. It's been fantastic, and to be honest with you, man, I've been getting a lot of responses from people. And I mean, a lot of people seem to be real happy with the record, man. That makes me happy, dude, because you know, these are a lot of people that, you know, they're fantastic music fans, and you know, they're kind of a little disappointed before, and I love to make them happy, man. You know?
Yeah, and as a longtime Morbid fan, I mean, I'm definitely so happy with the way that this turned out, and it's easily one of my favorite albums of the year. And just the fact that it does sound so inspired, I mean, whether it's the brutality that's going in there, or just knowing that you guys are getting along so well and just creating amazing Morbid music. I mean, just with the way everything's going right now, I'm so happy to see everything that's going on with you guys and everything that's going to be coming up in the future, whether it's live shows, the next album, whatever the case is. I mean, just like, if it keeps going like this, I can just tell it's going to be getting bigger and better from here on out.
Right on, bro. I really appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot.
Oh, not a problem. And that probably is a good spot to be able to wrap things up here. Thank you so very much for being able to take the time to be able to do this. Before we wrap
thanks
things...
for the interview, then.
Oh, not a problem. Before we wrap things up, is there anything else you'd like to mention that I hadn't brought up yet?
Oh, not really, man. I mean, I apologize, dude, but like, I'm kind of tossed out, man. I'm kind of tired. I've been doing it all day, and I mean, actually, I appreciate it because this was one of the more interesting interviews of the day. So I just really appreciate your time, and I appreciate you listening to the album, man, and giving people your opinion on it, dude. I really do.